I'm delighted to have the two councillor-elects, is that the proper term? I think it is, for Town Ward, in Alex Bierk and Joy Lachica. And welcome. Thank you so much for doing this.
Well, thank you, Paul. It's wonderful to be here, and I'm just really excited to be sharing this time with Alex and to be invited.
Yeah, well, you know, Alex, for sake of a better word, was the front runner in the ward with 2,600 votes last time I checked. But you were right behind him, 2,300, a little over 2,300. And the incumbent, Dean Pappas, was pretty close too, right to the end, 2,143 votes. So very tight at the top. But before we talk about what your plans are for the ward, what you're hoping to accomplish, I want each of you to take me back to your decision to seek election in the first place. Pretty big decision. What was your motivation for doing so? I could start with you, Alex.
Well, you know, I'm someone that was born and raised in Peterborough, and I live here with my family, and you know, we live in Town Ward, and I'm an artist that has a studio downtown, and I felt that I was really moved by coming back here, the personal ties that I had to people that were really struggling in our community. And I also have lived experience with a lot of the issues that we were facing going through our drug crisis and still in it. And I was just really, in the roles in the community that I engaged in and in the advocacy work that I did, I was really disheartened by, you know, the energy and effort put in by our leaders to these things that were so devastatingly affecting the community. And so I just really wanted to do my part to work against some of these issues that we all share.
Yeah, Joy, similar sentiment from you, or?
Yes, and you know, what Alex is saying really resonates for me, and I think we really share this in common, is a deep sense of urgency for the needs of vulnerable people in our community. I have a heart for social justice, like I know he does, and we're at a time, you know, in Town Ward, in Peterborough, in Ontario, in our country, where we're rising from a pandemic, and certainly the most vulnerable have been affected the most, and there's a great deal of work we need to do to participate in the actions we need to take as a community to address the basic needs of each and every one of us, because we need to take care of one another. And I think that's one thing that the pandemic has shown us, is that we are one city, we're one community. And you know, running in the federal election, that campaign, just to your point, to your question, was so just poignant for me. I actually built some relationships through those conversations at doors, and after that was all said and done, you know, it was a tremendous gift to feel that sense of, you know, I've heard so much from people about how deep the work is that needs to be done on a local level, on a municipal level. And it was at that point, at the end of that campaign, that I thought, I really want to participate in that in my new community, because I haven't lived here very long.
Well, you're both to be commended for running at all, because I mean, a lot of people will armchair quarterback, they'll sit at home and do all the complaining, but to actually, you know, pull up your bootstraps and do something about it, it's a big commitment running. Right. I hate to bring it up again, but I ran in 2018 and lost. But again, a similar motivation, right? I thought I could make a difference. I saw some things I wasn't happy with. It didn't work out, but that doesn't change the fact that it was a good experience, and I'm sure it was for you. I think if you want to get to know your city, run for council, because it's a great way to learn the issues. Which kind of brings me to my next question. As you canvassed, and I'll start with you, Joy, what were you hearing from residents regarding their concerns, their hopes? And based on what you heard, how confident were you of a good result come election night?
So thanks for the question, Paul. I had some engaging conversations, and you know, when we talk about what did people at doors say, there's such a wide range within the community in Town Ward. You know, many doors were groups of students that were sharing home together. At other doors were seniors, and at other doors were families. So there's such diversity in our ward. And what the common message was, I think if I were to identify it, was really just the decline, the general decline of morale downtown, a feeling of safety, a feeling of health, a feeling that it isn't thriving like it has in the past.
Was there a feeling of helplessness as well, a little bit? That people
I think there was.
were kind of spiraling.
Yeah.
There isn't anything we can do about it?
Often, I thought that there was often a sense of, you know, what can we do? I think there was a sense of frustration, disillusion, that sort of thing. And at many points, though, those conversations didn't always end in a sad and unfortunate way. They were actually conversations where we talked about the things that we can do and the radical hope and optimism that we can have if we do this work together. So you know, whether it was transit, because certainly that's a big issue as well for our students.
Alex, were you hearing similar things at the door as well?
Yeah, totally. And I think the thing is that people were feeling really disengaged by the process of municipal politics, right? The system of people having like 3 minutes as a delegate to speak their voice, and then to be told that it's too late to change the system that's already in motion. People are feeling disengaged from these processes of politics that have such a big impact in the community. You know, I was hearing the same 3 issues were the top issues. It was like people's sense of safety and the well-being of downtown. It was our drug crisis, and it was our homelessness and housing crisis that we're facing. And whatever the people we were talking to, whatever demographic, these were the things that they wanted a reaction to, and they felt like they weren't getting.
I think I know the answer to this, and I'd be surprised if it was otherwise, but your reaction on election night as those results came in, you know, like thrilled? I mean,
it was fine for me. I had no sense of like I have arrived. It was really just, you know, it was weird the way that they came in, and I was nervous because it never felt like it was final. And you know, I watched the thing that you guys did, and then I went to bed with my wife, and we looked at it on our phones, and I went to sleep after I found out. You know,
Wow.
I congratulated Joy. I ran downstairs so I wouldn't wake up my kids, and I called Joy, but.
We spoke a couple of times through the evening because it really evolved, didn't it?
Yeah.
Well, good for both of you. Town ward, not unlike each of the city's 5 wards, has its really, and you alluded to it earlier, has its own unique series of issues and challenges. What do you see as pressing matters in your ward that require immediate and full attention? And what do you see as needing to be done sooner as opposed to later? I mean, as you said, some of these things have been going on too long, and with little action, you know, directed towards them. So, Joy, what do you see as some of the pressing things in downtown that we have to roll up our sleeves and get busy at?
Well, I know Alex and I were both present for that emergency meeting of council, and I know that that's pressing, and you know, in both of our hearts recognize that that is the most urgent issue, is shelter for the winter, and you know, the opioid poisonings, the drug poisonings, and all that we need to do to lift up all of our community downtown, but certainly the housing piece front of mind. And I think that we need to be looking at our social infrastructure, these pressing issues, along with our physical infrastructure, and that we can do both in tandem. It isn't always sequential, but we can lay it on top of each other, and they can be integrated. Yeah.
Alex?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, you know, people are painting me as a one-issue guy, and you know, it's great that the issue that I'm passionate about and that I have experience with is the one that we're hearing back from the community. That is the most important thing to have a reaction to. An example of that is we have 328 plus unhoused folks in the community, and we only have about 91 shelter beds. It's getting really cold outside, and can you imagine living outside? So we need to have a winter strategy, which is currently sort of like stalled out right now because of the lame duck period that council was in. So I think we immediately need to release some funding to get some sort of winter strategy off the ground, so that will save people's lives. And then we need to sort of continue to tackle the issue as well as the systemic nature of the issue.
Yeah, the point-in-time homelessness report put together by the United Way, if anybody hasn't read that and they want to get an idea of what's going on in terms of homelessness, it's pretty sober reading.
Definitely,
for sure.
but I think there's also like a lot of really beautiful things we can do to help build a thriving downtown. You know, I was talking to folks on Weller Street, and you know, we don't have a dog park downtown, right? So there's all of these ideas that exist within these problems that don't exist within like the heaviness of the problem, right? We need to build a better, thriving, connected community downtown, right? And there's a lot of really cool things we can do that we can start to do immediately. Look at.
And further to that point, if I could ask you,
Yeah.
you know, when people talk about downtown, and you know, I don't go downtown because I just don't feel safe anymore. You hear that a lot, but just the aesthetics of downtown. I mean, you know, it isn't what it once was. You hear that from so many people, and there's probably a little bit of truth to that, right? You know, Terry Guile and the DBIA do what they can. Is that an organization, for example, that you would be looking to work pretty closely with and try to reverse some of that thinking regarding our downtown?
Absolutely, and I think that we're seeing projects underway in various corners that are part of the solution. So it's so wonderful that you know, we're passing a baton, and those relationships with the DBIA, with the agencies that are doing good work, and thinking about Trinity Church and the community hubs that can be created, we can do it beautifully. We need to create, and we can do it beautifully. Aesthetics are important, and that is what makes a downtown thrive, and we can do it all at the same time.
Yeah, that stretch of Water Street between Hunter and Simcoe with all the
amazing.
new shops there.
Yeah.
It's like like 2 years ago, it was like desolate.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things to celebrate, and you know, one of the great things that the DBIA did was, and that I felt an impact from, you know, and my neighbors downtown, my studio's on Hunter Street between Water and George. We loved a thing that the DBIA did, which was very short-lived, where they had mental health workers patrolling the downtown. And what we saw was that those interventions helped with some of the issues that we face as downtown business owners, and stopped the police from being called, and offered people access to services that were in place in the community. So the DBIA has done some amazing things.
Well, a lot of work to be done downtown. I know you guys are going to be leading the charge on that for sure, and looking forward to it. Now, the outgoing council, for whatever reason, and there's probably many, was very divisive. They just didn't seem to be on the same page on a lot of issues, which is to be expected. I mean, you're going to hear opposing views, but it seemed there were personality clashes. We talked about in our panel about how it just wasn't going to work with that mix for whatever reason. There seemed to be rarely a feeling that everybody was kind of pulling the oars in the same direction. What do you bring to the table, each of you, in terms of working collaboratively and being open to different views and approaches? Joy?
Thanks, Paul. Well, I'm a teacher, and I've done that for more than 25 years, and you know, certainly I've worked with staffs, and I've had leadership opportunities in schools, and then in my time as an elected provincial representative of the Teachers Federation, I worked with a table of 14, and you know, had committees and did that liaison work in various areas, similar to the standing committees that we have on council. So I certainly have always loved people, and I look for the best in people. And I think if we learn about one another at the beginning, and can respect the differing skills and experiences and footprints that we've all had, and they're all unique, then I think that we can identify that in one another and support one another as we work on the big Venn diagram and then concentrate on the middle, where we can come together and do the work. That's what team building is, and that's what a council should be. So I look forward to that.
Yeah, great. And you share that same approach?
Sure, and like you guys were talking a lot about Twitter and social media and stuff, and so what I've tried to do is that I've tried to reach out to people that I don't know who are on council and get to know them personally and build that personal connection. You know, any of the solutions to any of these real problems that we're facing in our city that have worked elsewhere have required unity within their local governments, and then also a collaboration between all levels of government. So I'm armed by that idea, and I want to try to see that forward.
And without naming names, you can if you want, but that reaching out that you've done on social media to get to know some members of council, has that gone well? Have you heard back?
I'm saying that like so much of how we communicate is done through what we assume we know about someone on social media, And so instead of like just thinking that I know someone, what I've tried to do is personally call and reach out and have coffee and meet the people that I'm going to be working alongside. And Jeff's been great at doing that with us as well. So I think that I'm feeling very optimistic about all of us being able to do some great work together.
Have you guys already met with the mayor-elect?
It's last week we've been collecting signs and it's been a scramble, but you know, certainly Mayor-elect Leal has reached out over the phone, by email, all of that. So you know, you play a little bit of phone tag, but I certainly admire and respect the effort at communication, and I think that's a real strength in the leadership we have going forward. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, and Joy and I have already talked about ways in which we can connect with the downtown community, and we're excited to do some of those things. So
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, as you alluded to, Peterborough does have a new mayor who will he's basically the guy. He sets the tone for the council in terms of, you know, just how it progresses, how it discusses issues, how it gets things done. What are your thoughts on Jeff Leal? I don't know how well you know him, but do you see him as someone you can work well with? Is he capable of bringing this council, which again seemed to be very divisive over the last term, is he capable of bringing it together to work effectively? And you got to say the right thing, because he's your boss now.
I know. I really look forward to working with Jeff. I think that, you know, it's a real asset to have someone who, you know, has worked at another level of government. And if you think of it as concentric circles, and with our municipal work being the nucleus, how wonderful to have someone return to the nucleus, which is our local community, to bring that knowledge, those connections, that expertise. I think we need that. I think it'll be helpful, and I think it's always a good thing too, to be a fresh voice, not part of the previous council, and can bring a new, fresh dynamic to the table. I think that'll be good.
Yeah, you're looking forward to working with the new
I
mayor-elect?
love Jeff. He's so cool, and he's shown a real ability to be able to meet us where we're at. You know, meet people where they're at in the community. He said all the right things for me in the mayoral events that happened on various issues, and I've just really appreciated his communication and his helpfulness so far. I think it's really great. I think it's really what we need.
I noticed he was one that actually spoke of housing in the housing debate, tiny homes, things like that. So I like that he articulated solutions around housing.
And he's also, Paul, he's also really he's been in the media talking about how he wants us to bring council back to being in person. So the fact that he's taking charge this early on is really great and gives me a lot of hope. You know.
Yeah, and he's talking about having a retreat or a get-together so you guys get to know each other. That's a party I want to go to. That sounds like it'd be a lot of fun. Before I let you go, I have to ask, as a councillor, there are going to be frustrations. I mean, there's frustrations with any job. Frustrations as you attempt to get things done. They might not be happening as quickly as you'd like or not the way you want to. So it won't be hard to get discouraged at times. That's, again, just natural. But do you recognize that, and how will you combat that? And, you know, look for the small wins along the way, kind of thing, or?
I mean, like I got three kids. You know, I'm 40 years old. This is not going to be new to me. Any of this ability to work with others, like this is just, you know, it's not something that scares me. It's just it was something that was known that was going to be part of the job, was to be able to collaborate with folks that have different viewpoints than me, and I'm just ready and eager to move on with it and get started and see what we can accomplish.
November 28th is coming up fast, right?
Yeah.
Joy?
I think that balance is so important, self-care, all the things that we know we need to do, grounding ourselves with our family, our pets. It's really important to be physically fit and eat well, some of those basics. But, you know, I think if we do those things and we stay in touch with the people that we draw strength from, I think we're in good shape. So that's what I look forward to when we encounter those moments.
I do know this. If you're raising 3 kids, you can pretty much do anything. So I raised 3 kids as well with my wife, and I think it's the toughest thing I ever had to do with my wife. But they're still with us and they're doing okay. So I guess we did all right. I want to thank you both so very, very much for joining us. I wish you best of luck in town ward, and I know good things are ahead for your constituents, for the city. A new council, it's an exciting time. Joy Lachica,
Thank you.
Alex Bierk, thank you very much.